Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on AI-enabled technology and managed services, your strategic differentiator in 2025. I'm Alex Gorel, your moderator for today's session, and I'm thrilled to have each of you join us. Throughout this exclusive webinar, we'll discuss how AI-enabled managed services can transform your operations by predicting disruptions, automating tasks, and optimizing performance. You'll leave the session understanding how to achieve performance beyond traditional IT operations management with an approach that integrates cutting-edge AI technologies to evaluate service levels and ensure operational excellence. Before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. If you have any questions during the discussion, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A and we'll address those at the end of the session. We'll be sharing a special offer to our attendees, and you'll also receive access to the recording. Now I'm excited to introduce our speakers. We have Jay Can. Jay is our Chief Technology Officer and a seasoned AI subject matter expert with over 30 years in the tech industry. At Synoptic, he leads the adoption of emerging technologies, crafting intelligent, personalized customer experiences that truly set us apart. Next, we have Rohan Rajar. Rohan is a client advisor at Synoptic with extensive experience in technology, cybersecurity, and digital forensics on a global scale. He specializes in developing technology-agnostic strategies and scalable solutions that harness the power of AI to drive measurable business outcomes. In today's agenda, we'll cover the state of AI, industry challenges, the risks of not adopting AI-enhanced managed services, and how AI-driven managed services are reinventing operations with real-world success stories. Let's dive in and explore how AI-enabled managed services can become your strategic differentiator in 2025 and beyond. So enjoy the session. Jay, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Alex. All right, so let's start with kind of a high-level state of AI in 2025. As I'm sure everybody on this call knows, there is a lot of money and a lot of growth going into AI at the moment. All of the leading tech giants are pouring billions and billions of dollars into this technology. Companies like Microsoft, Google, xAI, OpenAI, Anthropic, numerous others. Amazon dumping lots and lots of money into AI infrastructure, cloud-based models, and the technology in general. So let's talk about that growth. Now, keep in mind that these a lot of these sources are from Forrester, from Hostinger, from other places, and they're pretty recent. But this industry is moving so fast; they're almost out of date now. From a growth perspective, the global AI market is expected to accelerate sixfold, reaching 1.3 trillion by 2030. That might actually be low. We shall see. From an ROI expectations perspective, almost half of decision makers, CIOs, C-level executives, expect ROI from AI within 1 to 3 years. So very relatively short-term window. And the other half, at least within 3 to 5 years. From an AI adoption perspective, about 55% of companies are currently utilizing AI, and the rest are actually exploring its implementation. So virtually everybody's looking into it at some level, and that's a huge increase in adoption compared to previous years. But we'll talk about kind of where that has progressed and where it might be a little bit stuck. And of course, budget allocation. So according to a Hostinger survey, almost half of decision makers have allocated 5 to 20% of their company's total technology budget to AI. So it's very, very significant. And of course, in the AI, specifically in the AI-powered IT operations, the AI ops sector, by 2025, 92% of businesses intend to adopt AI-powered solutions and new tech investments. As we can see, a very high percentage, 78% of mid-market businesses expect their managed service providers to use AI to bolster those investments in technology. So this industry is growing. It's got a massive amount of attention, a massive amount of investment, and we don't see that slowing at all. I don't think we've reached peak yet. So let's talk then about what are some of the challenges associated with this. I mean, AI adoption is accelerating, but there are significant challenges. Organizations face hurdles in workforce readiness, regulatory compliance, scaling AI effectively. But at the same time, IT complexity is increasing, so it makes digital performance, harder to manage. So let's talk about workforce readiness for specifically, in this case, generative AI. There's a major skill gap. Only 14% of employees score high in the AI quotient. Well, it's 51% in the low range. This is the ability to actually use AI effectively. So there's a training gap. Leaders often can overestimate the readiness that people have. It seems like a natural, hey, I have a chat box that I can go in and immediately start using this. It's a very minimal interface in some cases. But really, there's a wide difference in terms of the capability of people who really understand what prompting is. So, and how to do it properly. Very, very huge gap. I'm sure everybody here has seen that with people who know how to Google for something and people who don't. The same thing exists in the AI prompting world. So businesses have to invest in AI upskilling to bridge that gap in some training. There are regulatory challenges. 51% of tech leaders cite regulatory challenges as a major blocker. This includes things like hallucinations, like where does liability fall in certain situations? How much decision making do you actually allow certain AI to do? So there are all these questions that have to be answered, and certainly regulatory compliance around those questions. And also, of course, data and its security, and what you can and cannot share with certain models. So that can slow down AI adoption and create some uncertainty in it. So businesses really need to stay ahead of the evolving regulation. As we all know, regulation can often be kind of slow to catch up. So let's talk about the AI pilot to scale inefficiency. A lot of us are actually still doing pilots, POCs, proof of concepts. There can be a high failure rate among those. 75% of firms fail when they're building agentic AI architectures, for example. Their implementation struggles were, again, almost a little bit more than that even, of business leaders face challenges in scaling AI, getting it from that, hey, we're doing this really cool POC. Well, now what do we do with it? How do we scale it, and how do we get it out into general use? So successful AI adoption there requires structured frameworks and a strong data infrastructure. So I think at this point, we'd also like to pop our first poll. So Karen, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and pop a poll up. If you guys see it, please feel free to pop your answers in there. I'm going to continue with the slide while you guys do. It should be up there for about 30 seconds. So the IT tech landscape complexity, there's a rising complexity. It has been for all of our professional lives. 76% CIOs say managing digital performance may become impossible due to IT complexity. There's security concerns and increased security risks. There's bottlenecks, which halt us. IT complexity can put a damper on innovation. And then there's scaling barriers. Right now, as I mentioned, 70% of AI projects remain in an experimental phase or a proof of concept phase, often due to data challenges more than anything else. So AI success in general depends on workforce readiness, regulatory navigation, efficient scaling strategies, how to get it from that POC into an actual production strategy. And managing that complexity is critical for unlocking AI's full potential. And so at some level, businesses have to simplify their tech landscape and invest in AI infrastructure to stay competitive. So let's take a look at what that can mean. So mid-market businesses especially are in a challenging position today. It's kind of a perfect storm. They're more dependent on technology than ever before, but complexity, cost, and risk of managing IT at an enterprise level, it's just out of reach for a lot of people. So let's break this down a little bit. So every organization today relies on technology to drive growth, improve operations, compete in the market. But as you expand your digital capabilities, the IT needs grow, but they don't grow linearly. They grow exponentially and often faster than internal teams can handle. There's a proliferation of technology solutions and cloud challenges. I mean, the tech landscapes, it's more fragmented than ever. There are tons and tons of players in this space. And as businesses are still trying to migrate to the cloud or integrate SaaS solutions and adopt AI, adopt this new thing, they struggle with execution. And the complexity requires a clear strategy, which a lot of mid-market firms lack or just don't have the time for. There's, of course, the cybersecurity and cost management. Cyber threats are evolving rapidly, particularly with AI getting smarter and smarter. The attack surface also gets broader, counterintuitively with the models. So, enterprise level security is not just expensive; it requires 24/7 vigilance. And at the same time, IT budgets, they're not keeping up with the rising cost of maintaining that. And then, of course, there's a talent shortage. and process gaps. So finding and retaining skilled technology professionals, it's always a huge hurdle. There's a war for IT talent, and mid-market firms often lose out to larger enterprises. So without finding the right people, processes, and tools, IT environments can become fragile and inefficient. So um, the more business demands increase, the more technology is required. But that necessitates more processes, which means hiring more people. And the big challenge here is that, again, as I mentioned before, it's not a linear increase. It's nonlinear. And every new technology, every new security measure, every compliance requirement, it compounds that complexity. So costs don't just rise incrementally; incrementally. They can surge unpredictably. And so often mid-market companies just can't afford to build and sustain that kind of enterprise IT structure to keep up with those demands. So now let's talk a little bit about, and this is by no means an exhaustive list. These are just samples of various industries are being impacted by AI. I know you guys see it. We certainly see it. Our customers see it. AI is transforming industries across the board, enhancing efficiency, reducing costs, driving innovation. So this slide is really meant to highlight how some of those sectors are leveraging AI to improve, their outcomes. For example, legal, AI could automate 30% of routine legal tasks by 2030, probably much sooner than that at the rate we're going. And that lowers operational costs. I mean, 40% of law firms have already adopted AI for some core functions. So that's ultimately going to streamline legal research, document review, and compliance. There's also the danger there, as I mentioned before. It can hallucinate. There's been a case of a person who was disbarred over submitting cases that were hallucinated. So some care to be taken. But in other industries as well, like architecture, engineering, and construction, AEC, there's a massive efficiency boost. It's estimated to drive $1 trillion in value by 2030. That can be on project planning, predictive maintenance, safety, all kinds of different areas. Education, we have tons of interest in this area. AI-driven personalization to help student retention and student learning. Virtual tutoring, like really something you can't scale otherwise cost effectively, but the ability to give individual tutoring and training to students based on their needs and their learning level. That's something AI is very, very good at providing. So adaptive learning is what we call that. So intelligent tutoring, automatic grading of outcomes, those sorts of things are very big in the education space. In the nonprofit space, improving operational effectiveness. The nonprofits are often very understaffed or under-resourced, and this can really help multiply the effectiveness of a smaller number of people and smaller resources. So, and of course, especially in areas like fundraising and AI-driven outreach. Manufacturing, predictive maintenance, again, automation, supply chain optimization, huge amounts of possibilities within that space. Healthcare is being used everything from the the diagnosis level to personalized treatment, reducing costs overall, and actual schedule management. All kinds of different things are happening with AI in healthcare. And of course, transportation. If you've ever worked with or are part of or working with now a transportation company, you know that route optimization is one of the biggest factors or the biggest concerns within transportation, and AI is particularly good at dealing with very, very complex route optimization. And AI-based fleet management as well. There's all kinds of different areas in there we can improve logistics. So basically, the general gist is that AI is redefining a lot of industries and improving efficiency, driving some massive economic impacts. So organizations that are integrating it early are going to gain a competitive edge. And that's why businesses should be assessing that strategy now to unlock those benefits. All right, so let's go ahead and do another poll. Karen, I believe we have another poll lined up. There we go. So you guys answered that. I'm going to continue talking about this slide. So what's at stake without enabled managed service providers, right? So this is where AI managed service providers come in. Traditional MSP model isn't really enough anymore. Manual monitoring, reactive support, fixed SLAs, it's not going to solve these challenges. So really need AI-driven MSPs that can automate IT operations, predict things before they happen, predict problems, optimize costs. provides security at scale without the need for mid-market companies to hire huge internal IT teams. So, going down the list here, again, higher IT costs and operational efficiencies. Without AI, there's a rising IT cost due to manual processes and inefficient workflows. Automation can reduce IT support costs, 30 to 50% and optimize resource allocation. There's the dealing with increased cybersecurity vulnerabilities. Without AI, there can be slower threat detection, higher risk of ransomware, compliance breaches. With AI, AI-driven, security detects and mitigates threats in real time, much, much better than manual. It can reduce breach costs, by a huge amount. So there's an entire list of possibilities here of things that, as you can see, with AI, really benefits MSPs versus, not having that. So this is why mid-market businesses kind of have to rethink their approach to IT too, though. Instead of trying to build an enterprise-grade IT organization internally, which can be unsustainable, AI-enabled MSPs provide the right mix of automation, expertise, scalability. It's not really just about outsourcing IT. It's about using AI to future-proof your technology strategy in a way that's cost-effective and resilient. So I did want to talk about the cost of inaction. We see it all the time. Inertia, momentum, status quo can typically be the easiest choice. Everyone's busy. And when you're fighting fires every day, it can be hard to take a step. Think about how to get out of the situation you're in, with costs increasing, but results getting harder and harder to achieve. So when businesses in general delay or fail to act on things like digital transformation, IT modernization, or AI adoption, you can incur some hidden and long-term costs. So the risks extend beyond financial loss. It's really organizations lose competitive edge, face more security vulnerabilities, struggle with scalability. So let's explore some of these key consequences of inaction. Financial and workforce strain, cash flow pressure, ongoing inefficiencies drain resources, leading to higher operational costs. AI is an efficiency multiplier, not just at the process level, but at the personal employee level. It's a massive personal efficiency multiplier. So without automation AI, if you're relying on manual processes, you can raise overhead expenses and increase labor costs. There's competitive and technological risks. The loss of competitive advantage. Competitors who adopt AI are going to outpace stagnant companies that aren't doing it, for sure. There's technological obsolescence. Outdated systems can hinder growth. I know we all experience having legacy systems that we just can't seem to get rid of. But that's something that needs to be addressed. And in a lot of cases, and I know we are using it that way, AI can give us a big leg up on migrating off of those systems into something else. Security infrastructure challenges, like there's a higher risk of system failures and security breaches. Aging infrastructure and lack of AI-driven security can increase those vulnerabilities. Because again, the AI can, at scale, see and detect things that is very, very difficult to do from a manual perspective, from just a traditional programming perspective. So seeing those subtle details and those subtle patterns and being able to pull that out and give notifications on it is a huge key part. ROI and performance impact, failure to realize ROI on AI tech and AI and tech investments. Businesses that invest but fail to scale it are going to see minimal returns. So really got to get out of that, stuck in the experimental and POC phase. So ultimately, what all this means, inaction is not a neutral choice. It can be an expensive one. So companies that fail to modernize are going to risk falling behind, lose revenue, face increasing operational burdens. So what's the solution to that? Well, proactively invest in AI, in automation, in scalable IT solutions, and really try to stay ahead and drive efficiency, both at the process and again at the employee or at the personal level. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rohan.
Awesome.
There we go.
That was great. Now that's very interesting, and I really think about this more often than I like to admit. It's truly a very exciting and transformative time for industry in general. It feels like one of those once in a lifetime moments, even though I feel like we've had way too many once in a lifetime moments just in the past 5 years. And the reason I say this is because there are companies out there that are being disrupted entirely by the advent of competition that's enabled by AI. I think the things you said, Jay, are very relevant and very important. And they underscore the reasons and rationale between how managed services can help firms remain sort of at the forefront of this disruption. And so let's shake things up a little bit. Might just be my sort of MBA training, but over the next few slides, we'll go over a couple of real world cases and real world scenarios that observed firsthand just the difference and tangible impact this can bring. So first up, we'll look at a mid-market bank based out of the Northeast. So this is a pretty standard situation. We've all seen it happen in one firm or the other. The bank expanded rapidly and ended up with a large number of branches, about 2,000 employees, and they were struggling with IT help desk inefficiencies. Their costs obviously grew linearly. They were just adding people to service their staff, and they were averaging around $5 million a year. As they added more employees, they grew a large team. The result was long ticket queues, frustrated employees, and skyrocketing operational costs. To give you some insight, their average response time was about 8 hours for standard tickets. And most of these tickets were just simple requests like password resets, but they still needed human intervention. So net, the bank was losing productivity, which is critical for a bank, especially one where customers are used to getting quick service. And customer retention started becoming a growing concern for them. So they explored a couple of different approaches, right? And we're highlighting one of those here. They were afraid to move in a completely different new direction. So they looked at a hybrid model where a managed services provider would take L1 support away and introduce some automation. So because of the way they were structured, the entire transition and documentation process was projected to take about 12 months. Outsourcing was able to handle 40% of the tickets at the end, but still required manual escalations and the waiting periods. Frustration was reduced somewhat, but it still remained pretty high. But on the upside, they did bring their costs down. I mean, they brought their costs down to about 3.5 million, so leadership was relatively happy. However, that's really when they discovered AI-enabled services, which changed the game for them. Because they'd already done sort of preliminary work with the documentation and stuff, their time to value on implementing a fully AI-enabled help desk was projected to only be about a month. 6 months if they had started at the start, but only a month from that point on. With AI-enabled self-help and an AI-powered chatbot, 80% of tickets could be handled automatically. Response times dropped from 8 hours to about 30 minutes. And they really ended up in a position where we all measure utilization. They figured out that they were able to save more than 3,000 hours annually per department, which greatly improved their company culture, it improved employee productivity. And net, they were really able to bring to bear the simple capabilities that AI-enabled managed services can get you, like really the basics, what's table stakes, and they, saved 60% on their budget, or $3.2 million, increased satisfaction by 25%, and they were poised to transform their culture in about 6 months. So great case. Let's look at another, and in an industry that's very near and dear to me. There is a research and healthcare institution in the US with about $500 million in revenue that was relying on a legacy on-premises ERP system. The challenge was that this ERP was prone to repeated downtime. So at one point, nearly 40% of test runs failed due to manual errors, and extensive regulatory requirements slowed their progress. So they realized that they needed to make a change. After some consulting, they decided that Dynamics 365, which is a very popular and highly recommended ERP solution, was apt for an organization of their size and what they wanted to do. So they bought into that suite. They had an internal IT team, so they considered hiring the right staff and reallocating resources to handle the data migration and the ERP implementation themselves. Their analysis showed that this would cost them about 10 million to do themselves and take about 2 years to complete. So they then approached multiple managed services providers, true experts who could implement Dynamics for them and handle the data migration. The best quotes they got put the project about 7 million with a time to value of 12 months. However, this was still a bit uncertain because ERP implementations can take longer than 12 months, especially without AI-driven optimizations. Another issue, and really what was critical for them, was that human error could still creep in. So they still needed all the staff to be involved, to rework, to validate, which could pose compliance risks. And then they looked at AI-enabled managed services. So the annual cost for this use case, for this project, came out to be about 3.5 million, yielding 6.5 million in savings compared to their initial estimates, about 3.5 million over the traditional MSP implementation route. And the real kicker here was that AI could optimize the entire deployment for them, particularly around the data migration piece, reducing error rates by a factor of 98,000, or basically making the process about 90% more efficient, net. And in this benchmark case study, which is out there, the ERP went live in just 44 days after the data migration was complete. Critical compliance tasks were automated with real-time validation being handled by the AI. Their compliance approval times got cut down by 40%. And they were really able to improve forecasting, reduce supply chain errors, and increase their value and realize their value about 12 to 18 months before any other solution on the market. So this just really goes to highlight the power of using AI-enabled managed services. Again, a great case study that shows how this can really help bring value cheaper, faster, and better. Every CFO's favorite words. And we'll do one more case study, just because it's easy to go through and really see the value in the lens. And this is for a manufacturing giant that was dealing with significant development backlogs for their logistics and production tracking applications. It turned out that nearly 40% of their developers' time was being absorbed by debugging activities, which delayed new feature releases and limited responsiveness to market demands. All this inefficiency added about $4 million in annual expenditure, bringing their total project budget to $8 million. Going the traditional route now could have brought the project down to 3.5 million by outsourcing a substantial portion of the work, using economies of scale, which MSPs are great in being able to deliver, and implementing a strong release management framework. But they would still take about $12 million to realize this view and reach the point where they could have the app at a place where they're able to actually get value out of it. And quality control at this point would still remain an issue. So they turned to explore AI-enabled managed services. And that's where things really shifted for them. And this, by the way, is also something AI excels at. This is a great case study because the entire 1.5 timeline could be compressed to just 6 months. AI was able to generate about 40% of the initial code, significantly reducing development time. Automated testing also enabled the bulk of the manual QA cycles, identifying and removing about 90% of potential errors, and deployment errors were reduced by over 70%. So net, we're seeing really, really high levels of efficiency gains in the development process. And these are improvements that we simply haven't seen in traditional development over the past couple of years. And by implementing AI-enabled managed services, this organization was poised to save $3.5 million over the course of the project. And on top of that, which personally, I think that the real gain for them was they really gained a future-proof product development lifecycle, which enables them now to respond to market forces more quickly and maintain a competitive edge. The remainder of their budget could then be reallocated to other parts of the business to drive value. So let's pause here. We've seen three case studies, and what we've seen is quite honestly remarkable. AI-enabled managed services can reduce budgets by over 50%, compress timelines so companies can achieve key objectives faster, boost morale, performance, and really free up their staff so that people can do the higher value work, the thing that they really interview for, the thing that fuels their passion. And ultimately, this drives shareholder satisfaction and maximizes shareholder value. So there's a real opportunity here. And this is not just a call to action, but really a call to thought, right? If we were able to analyze the case studies and numerous other data points that we've just seen over the past half hour and synthesize them, these examples highlight how AI-enabled managed services can truly be your differentiator and honestly be your biggest advantage and fuel your competitive advantage. And let's focus on six areas here, just to break this down a little more. So In this, we move from being reactive to proactive in your IT. So you shift from dealing with things breaking, not enough computers being up, RAM issues, memory issues, to being proactive, doing predictive maintenance, where you can fix things before they fail and detect anomalies in real time. Gartner says that this can reduce downtime by up to 60% in your workforce, and help with your utilization metrics. Um, Cost optimization, as you've seen, you can save up to 50% through AI-enabled managed services, leading in much faster ROI. Risk and security, PwC estimates over up to 50% fewer security breaches in firms that utilize AI, because real-time intelligence mixed with an automated instant response can quickly adapt to evolving threats, especially because these days the threat actors themselves are using AI. So you really need to fight, fire with fire. Um, you gain competitive advantage through innovation. IDC estimates that innovation cycles can be up to twice as fast. And Gartner also indicates that employees will have an enhanced experience. And let's be honest, none of our firms are anything without our employees. Their experience and their productivity really propels us to every single day. And happy employees means better retention, more loyalty, and better results for our firms. And this is just underscored by the next point as well, enhanced employee experience. When they spend more time on manual fixes and repetitive tasks, morale can go up and they focus on higher level, more strategic work that drives the business forward. And last but not least, this way of operating, I'll say this modality is really a critical pillar in future proofing your organization. All this combined, according to Deloitte and everything we've observed over the past year and a half, show that AI-enabled managed services providers and solutions can ensure a stronger, more competitive position for you as we enter the second half of this decade. And this is how you can help push your firm's vision and meet your stakeholder or shareholder expectations, especially without incurring the massive costs or having to hunt down AI experts to build these technologies from scratch and then retaining that expertise in-house. So again, AI-enabled managed services are poised to be your strategic differentiator. And that's really why we're having this very pleasant discussion today. One of the things that Synoptic and we at Synoptic take pride in is that we try to remain at the forefront of innovation. After all, we are a 1,500 person strong technology company where 90% of us are are really core tech and strategy folks. And we kicked off in looking at how the market was headed, we kicked off in 2023 a strategy to become the world's most AI-enabled managed services provider. We entered the first year of our 3-year plan in 2024, where we learned fast, failed fast, and tested a large number of capabilities in AI. As the technology was becoming more democratized and the industry was progressing and making leaps and bounds. And we leveraged our strategic partnerships in industry and academia to better understand the art and the science behind AI and make it our competitive advantage so we can add more value and drive better business outcomes for you. We also developed a proprietary AI maturity matrix. We're not going to cover that necessarily in this deck, but we'll talk about it in our future follow-up discovery sessions if you opt in. More about that later. But that really helps benchmark your organization and provides a path forward. So yeah, the methodology we use to do this, just to share that a little bit with you today, is as follows. First, we begin by assessing your AI readiness. So at the front end, we begin with a thorough audit of your practices, data practices, your structures, and your team's culture. We identify and look at remediating gaps to address and set realistic milestones with you. We also get all of your stakeholders together and make sure everyone buys into the vision because that is necessary. Then we do a variety of things, right? And in those particular order, we look at leveraging AI for your operational efficiency. So focusing on automating labor-intensive tasks, which often yields quick wins by freeing up folks to be able to work on more strategic things. We work on enhancing your customer experience. So this is not just about you, but rather your own customer's experience. Deploying AI-driven chatbots, personalizing marketing data, and refining engagement models and solutions. We help you drive innovation. We help you use AI insights to develop new business models, complement your existing business models, anticipate market disruptions, and really conduct market research for you. Synoptic, and first and foremost, is an advisory-led firm, and we're agnostic when it comes to particular technology stacks. We help you figure out how to drive innovation within your business and realize whatever your specific business outcome is. We'll help you we help our customers put in a risk management and compliance framework, architecting the GRC framework that makes sense, because compliance is the thing that we all have to deal with, and your CISO is your best friend. If you don't have a CISO, we can provide that function as well. And most importantly, we look at your culture and we look at your people. We make sure that we work to make sure that morale is high at your firm so that people can focus on strategic things, and we provide training to make sure that people are able to adopt and leverage the AI tools that are out there. So all in all, by incorporating AI responsibly and strategically, organizations can stay ahead of evolving market demands, and also make sure that they're not displaced by whatever's coming next. There's a very famous saying that I heard at a conference last year that AI is not going to replace anyone, but companies using AI will. And quite frankly, we work to make sure you're in that latter category. So Synoptic has the capabilities to provide everything from AI advisory to a full IT department as a service, an IT organization to everything in between. The way we position our firm and really our ethos is to be the last technology partner that you ever need. This is what guides our investments, our strategies, and our own plans. We know AI is going to be a major part of the future, and to help prepare you, here are just some of the capabilities that Synoptic can help bring to bear. So first up, we're building AI-powered IT support, predictive maintenance, 24/7 AI-driven service desks, and self-service user interfaces. For instance, one of our competitive advantages today that I'd like to share is that we are able to use AI to rate every single support interaction with our customers and provide feedback to our management or our employees so they can learn and we can make our service better constantly. So we're really practicing what we're trying to preach as well. In terms of workforce productivity with Copilot and Prometheus, our AI tools and our large investments in real homegrown workforce productivity tools can help foster innovation and consistency. And they're backed by prompt engineering training to encourage adoption within your teams as well. We work extensively in governance, risk, and compliance. AI-driven threat detection and a robust GRC framework can ensure proactive risk mitigation while maintaining productivity and adherence to regulations. Especially when it comes to core business applications, this is really where the meat of AI is as well. We can apply AI to tasks like demand forecasting, document verification, e-invoicing, helping really optimize operational costs. When it comes to application development management, another great area, we're able to help automate code reviews, testing, and deployment, which shortens development sprints by 25%. Low code and no code solutions can expedite app creation and iteration and ideation as well. And in customer data analytics and customer experience offerings, real-time analytics and omni-channel engagement strategies can personalize interactions and strengthen your customers' loyalty. Again, Synoptic works as an extension of your team in order to bring these capabilities to life. And we do this using our platform. And some of the Synoptic customers who are here probably already familiar with this, but we really simplify this for you because if you are a Synoptic customer, you have access to our entire Synoptic platform. And we are investing heavily into making this an AI-enabled managed services platform through and through as well. It really includes 4 pieces: the business management, operations management, services management, and processes to manage any and all of your technology. And we do this in order to provide you with an enterprise caliber platform that accelerates your business results, enabling your IT operations, your business operations, and your customer interactions with AI, and ultimately driving the maximum possible returns in your investments. So as you can tell, we're a passionate group of people who are really in this line of work because we enjoy seeing the value that technology strategies bring to our customers, helping them grow and learn. As we saw today, each organization that considered partial outsourcing or saw even bigger results once they implemented a comprehensive AI-enabled strategy. And if you're interested in having a conversation and taking the conversation forward about how you can get started or picking up wherever you are in your AI journey, in your AI-led operations journey, I should say, you can scan the QR code right now and sign up. This discovery session, while you're doing that, I'll just share a little bit. This discovery session will cover an actionable strategy to integrate AI in managed services. We go over a comprehensive maturity benchmark. You'll get some expert review and validation of your current maturity level, depending on where you are in your journey. We look at enhancing stakeholder alignment within your organization and provide some practical next steps for immediate implementation. Basically, we'd love to have a conversation about where you are in your journey, where you want to go, and what you need to get there. Again, feel free to scan the QR code and sign up. I'll pause for a second while you do that, and I'll turn it over to you, Alex.
Thanks so much, Rohan. Really appreciate it. And honestly, it's truly exciting, Jay and Rohan. This is a lot of great things to consider. And, this is a really interesting topic as we continue to go into it. I'd like to take a moment and just share a little bit at Synoptic. So Synoptic's integrated suite of managed professional and consulting services empowers organizations to strategize, implement, and optimize their digital roadmaps for sustained success. As a trusted partner, we offer strategic advisory-led approaches and that drive tangible business outcomes. And empowered by our enterprise caliber expertise, full stack technical capabilities, and over $10 million investment in our proprietary IT platform that you mentioned, we help you envision, transform, and continuously evolve your technology to fuel innovation and growth. By optimizing scalability and cost structures, we elevate customer experiences and drive continuous value for our business or for your business. We don't just manage IT, we engineer transformative solutions that power growth, innovation, and world-class operations. And specifically around, this conversation that we're having, we saw a need for space for professionals to network and exchange ideas with AI experts. So we created the Generative AI Mindshare LinkedIn group. We see it as a platform to share groundbreaking AI research and innovations, an opportunity to post thought-provoking questions and engage in dynamic discussions. And I'd encourage you to join and engage in this group. And feel free to extend the invite to others in your network as we continue to grow. It's a relatively new LinkedIn group, and it's going to have more and more as time goes on. And we look forward for you to be a part of it. Let's go ahead and scan the QR code, or you can search GAME in LinkedIn to join. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to questions. As I mentioned before, go ahead and drop your questions in the Q&A, and we will answer those. I'm going to share those here, and we can go through the things that are coming in. Thank you so much for adding all these questions in here. And let's see, let me start with this one. Jane Rohan, let's see. Do AI-driven managed services give early adopters a sustainable competitive advantage, or will this just become the new industry standard?
I can take that one. This is a great question, right? Because it's really both. Over time, AI-driven managed services will become as common as computers and cloud technology has become, and essentially a new industry standard. However, there is significant advantage for those who adopt early. We've seen this time and again, right? The earliest adopters of the internet, cloud computing, or any disruptive technology, think of industry giants like Google, Amazon, and Facebook. They were able to leverage that early lead into sustained market dominance. And by embracing AI-enabled managed services sooner rather than later, I think organizations can really enhance efficiencies, improve the customer experiences like we talked about, and differentiate themselves in the market. It's not just about being at the forefront of a new trend and or just adopting a trendy new technology. It's really about if you wait, it's about staying ahead of the market forces and positioning your company for long-term success. If you wait until it's the established standard, then we sort of lose that head start, and that's why the time to act, in my view, is now. Getting on board early helps you ensure that you stay ahead of the competition and are well prepared for the inevitable industry-wide adoption of AI because it's coming, whether we like it or whether you're going to implement it. It's safely, it's coming, and it's on us to make sure we implement it in our organization safely.
Perfect. It seems that many of you are interested in having additional conversations, and we will be sharing information on how you can collaborate with our experts here post webinar. Thanks for that. Let's see, here's another one as well. Do you think AI will eventually enable fully autonomous IT operations with no human intervention, or will there always be a balance?
I'll be happy to take a stab at that one. So
Okay.
there's a reason that Microsoft named their AI Copilot, because they do anticipate that it is a Copilot. It's not intended to replace people. But the reality is, we all know that AI's trajectory is definitely pushing towards more autonomous IT operations. We're already seeing them handle a lot. Even server maintenance, basic incident response, a huge amount of proactive stuff. But that said, fully autonomous IT with zero humans, probably not anytime soon. Not that it's not particularly capable, but the sticking points are really judgment calls and accountability, right? So AI can optimize systems based on patterns and things like that, but it really does struggle with, I'll say this, it struggles today with messy context-heavy decisions, like weighing business priorities during a crisis or navigating ethical trade-offs. So IT is really tied to human systems. So someone's got to define those goals and guardrails and things like that. So my take is that it's going to be a hybrid for a while. AI is going to run the day-to-day grind, and that's going to free up humans for strategy oversight and weird edge cases. So in a decade, who knows? It's going to be a very different world, but at least in the foreseeable future, it's definitely going to be a hybrid. I don't see it being completely end-to-end. And by the way, this is something we recommend to all our customers too, is particularly on a little bit more customer-facing things, is don't put AI-generated content in front of customers without reviewing it by human yet, because there are still issues with content creation. It's getting better, but that's still our baseline recommendation. So yeah, we definitely see humans being involved in the loop.
Good points. Let's see. All right. So as they keep on coming, just pop them into the Q&A, and we'll take as many as we can. Here's another one. Could AI ever create security risks instead of mitigating them? And then also on top of that, what's an example of a scenario where AI
I'll
might
take that.
introduce?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
the vulnerabilities.
I know where this one's going. I'll take this one.
Okay.
So the answer is definitely yes. And I'm going to give you a very real world kind of scenario where it can. It's an example I've given in the past where, okay, right now, for example, say if you wanted to access something that you're not supposed to. Right now, there's a lot of people who lack the technical capability to do that. With AI being able to write very good code for you, and particularly with open source AIs available that are either not guardrailed or with other AIs that have been jailbroken, you can get them to write some pretty serious vulnerability exploiting code for you to do things like that. So it's one example of having it, being able to do that. But another is look at something like, and not to pick on them, it's true for Google Workspace or Microsoft with Copilot, when it has access to all of your data already. Governance of data becomes really, really important, because look at it this way. If I wanted right now to get a list of all the salaries of the C-suite in my company, for example, I don't have access to that. And I shouldn't have access to that. However, if a folder's permissions that contains that information is left more open than it should, and this happens commonly with lots of things. People get frustrated in trying to share something. They open the permissions wider than they should. And normally, I would be completely oblivious to that, wouldn't have any idea how to find it in a. But if you can ask an AI who does have broad access to all of that, you can ask them a common question like, hey, give me the list of all those salaries of the C-suite. If it happens to be within my permission structure because it was incorrectly assigned, guess what? It's going to expose that to me immediately. So data governance and really understanding the surface area that's available to AI is really, really important to make sure that those sorts of things don't happen. But basically, it turns non-technical people into very capable hackers in many situations. It also, by the way, now enables fraud at scale, which is a whole different conversation and thing. But the ability to do the type of fraud we do with that is done today, I still say we do, but that's done today with call centers will be done in an automated fashion. So it's definitely a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of more conversation around that, I'm sure, that could be expanded on. Okay, so I'm going to use this one. Here's a question. If AI can optimize IT operations significantly, how can businesses ensure the shift?
I can take this one. Common spiel. It's interesting, right? Because we all want to get started, but we're trying to figure out how to do that, and successfully integrating AI into IT operations sort of needs a step-by-step process. And I'll say three things, right? We need to get the basics right first to make sure we're AI ready, identify what those low-hanging fruit is, and then sort of develop a comprehensive strategy. Talk through each of these a little bit. For getting the basics right, it's about, again, three things: data readiness, making sure your data is clean, it's well structured, it's accessible. To Jay's point just now, it has the right permissions on it, so people have access to things that they should have access to. The second is cultural readiness. It's making sure that you have a culture at your company that is open to innovation, where teams are actually empowered to experiment with new technologies, because some of your best use cases, and honestly, some of our best use cases come from our people. They don't come just from a team that's siloed sitting in a room. And then the third is establishing a governance, risk, and compliance framework. Again, very important. Making sure there's clear policies and frameworks to manage risk, protect data, and maintain compliance. It's very different if you're a nonprofit firm, for if you work with children's data, to if you work with HIPAA. So getting those basics right is sort of the AI readiness that we like to call. After that, you look at the second pillar, which is identifying low-hanging fruit, looking for processes or workflows that can be automated or significantly improved by AI. Again, by the reason we say this, there's multiple approaches out there, but the reason we suggest moving forward with this is by targeting these areas first, we can quickly demonstrate value, gain momentum, and secure broader stakeholder support across the organization. And then once we do this, it's easy to do the third pillar, which is just having a comprehensive strategy. So you outline how AI will support your broader business objectives, not just your IT goals, because again, technology is an enabler of your business. It's not just a cost center. Plan for ongoing innovation, ensure the AI solutions remain flexible and that they can scale. And over here, I will mention that Synoptic actually, we do this for a couple of our larger customers where we are able to offer a detailed engagement where we go in, and we recommend you look at the same approach, or we can talk more after, but we go in, we interview key stakeholders, we hold multiple steering committee meetings, and we conduct an on-site review of your operations and your business applications. And this really helps us gain a holistic view on your business and a holistic business transformation plan that can then align with your specific goals and drive innovation at your organization. So again, that's something that's, a more tailored approach, but this is typically how we suggest moving forward with, starting to adopt AI. Jay, I didn't know if you wanted to expand on that, had anything to share.
No, you kind of nailed all the main points. So no, that pretty much covers it. That and of course, culture, getting people within the organization excited and involved in what's happening with it. So changing culture and budget. Budget's always part of it too. So yeah, no, I think you did a great job.
Perfect. Well, that brings us to this portion, and I wanted to thank you for joining today's session on AI-enabled technology and managed services, your strategic differentiator in 2025. As you considered to reinvent your operations with AI-driven managed services, I'd encourage you to take advantage of our complimentary AI maturity and strategies discovery session that Rohan mentioned there. We'll also connect with you after this webinar with resources and discuss next steps. Until next time, take care and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.